Nimsoft is an interesting case study also, which started as a VAR, a value-added reseller of another company's products. And it was so successful that eventually it went and bought the company whose products it was reselling and then built from there on. $350 million exit, by the way, Nimsoft. So just to give you flavors of what other people are doing and what other people are doing successfully. And see if you can apply this principle to your particular situation. And the key, let me stress this, the key to doing a successful, service-based bootstrapping exercise is to focus on a domain, build domain expertise, really get close to the customers. Customer intimacy is really, really key. And you need discipline to say no to unrelated revenue opportunities. If just some random revenue opportunity shows up that somebody asks you to do this, which is completely unrelated, let's say somebody asks you to answer phones for them, which has no relation with what you're doing in e-commerce or you're doing something else in cryptography, say no. You need the discipline to say no, however much money they offer you. Now, on the open source go-to-market strategy, I'm going to give you a few case studies as well. One of the most important case studies of recent times is Zoho. This is an Indian company. Zoho has managed to take on Google, Microsoft, Salesforce.com using this open source go-to-market strategy and completely bootstrapped company, not one penny of outside capital. And they have used open source to get their products out there. They do the entire Microsoft Office suite. They have a web conferencing product. They also have a CRM product. And the CRM product is something that they're charging for. Very successful story. And they have not used a sales channel. The advantage of the open source go-to-market strategy is that you get to use a marketing-driven go-to-market strategy as opposed to a sales-driven go-to-market strategy. Sales channels are very expensive to build. And that if you're working out of the geographies like East Asia, India, China, and if you're trying to access the Western market, it is harder to do. But open source is definitely working, and it's working very well. DimDim is an online web conferencing software, also used open source go-to-market strategy well. Sugar CRM, also a very good open source go-to-market strategy. They went against Salesforce.com with a free CRM solution and then went on to provide premium solutions on top. So these are, 3 case studies that I strongly recommend you look at. Again, all the case studies are on my blog. Another interesting one is SpringSource. This is an Australian guy who came up with a J2EE piece of code, basically, and are doing efficient J2EE development. And he put that in the open source domain, in the public domain. And he was basically doing consulting in that domain, using that software. On top of that software, he also wrote a book on the topic. And before he knew it, millions of downloads. And the product started gaining traction. Long before they raised any money, they eventually raised money from Benchmark Capital, which is one of the top VC firms in Silicon Valley. They had plenty of traction. Another one is CollabNet. CollabNet has followed a Trojan horse strategy where they had a version control product which they gave out in the public domain and then used that as a Trojan horse to sell their collaboration technology. So open source go-to-market strategies are an affordable way for bootstrap companies to go to market. The next thing I'm going to elaborate on a little bit is Sales 2.0 and this whole notion of teleweb sales, sales by phone and internet. Recently, actually a Malaysian company talked to me at one of my roundtables, and we had a lengthy discussion on this topic. This is a company that is trying to sell crowdsourced greeting cards to the to whoever wants to buy it. So he was toying with all sorts of different business models and, e-commerce business models and so on and so forth. But I think the business model that is gaining traction for him is selling to distributors. And the discussion we had at the roundtable was around how to access global distributors. And I told him that the way to do it is by using telephone and web, and you have to close the sale on the web. You've got to keep your travel budget low. The basic principle of this is you've got to keep your travel budget low, and you have to be able to close deals on the phone. So maybe the deal sizes would be relatively small. But the advantage of teleweb sales today, because of technologies like DimDim and WebEx and so on and so forth, you can do demos very effectively. You can let people pilot or try your software or your product, and it's eminently possible these days to close a sale on the web or on the phone. And I strongly recommend that you use these and don't go around traveling and spending a lot of travel budget. Another very effective strategy is to use somebody else's sales channel. There are lots of companies today, lots of technology companies that have built very successful global channels. And if you have a product or a technology that kind of fits snugly into a gap in one of their areas of interest, but where they do not have a product, at this point, you could always OEM your product into existing, products and access their channels. This is also a not very effective go-to-market strategy. Not very expensive go-to-market strategy. And search engine optimization, pay-per-click, affiliate deals, guerrilla PR. There are lots of blogs who are willing to write about new products and new services, and you can always work with them. These blogs often help you do market research even, and you can do that from Asia. You don't need to be elsewhere. If you're marketing to Asia, of course, you can use all of these techniques as well. And by and large, all of them are inexpensive go-to-market techniques. Inexpensive techniques through which you can at least generate enough early customers. There's a very good case study on my blog about the Indian e-commerce company Flipkart. Flipkart is the largest e-commerce company in India. And they have managed to do, they basically bootstrapped the company. Today they have raised money from Axel, but they bootstrapped a large part of their early development, and they haven't spent a lot of money on trying to acquire customers. They have used go-to-market strategies that are basically word-of-mouth driven. So these are, interesting avenues, interesting methods in which you can bootstrap. And your goal, remember, is to get to a validated business model with paying customers. And if you get to that, you have significantly, dramatically enhanced your chances of getting financed. Now then, you have to address another question that is necessary but is not sufficient. The other big question to access in money from professional investors is the notion of total available market. I call it tyranny of the TAM, tyranny of total available market. VCs only invest in very large market opportunities. But the reality is there are many more 10 million, 20 million, 30 million opportunities out there than 500 million opportunities. And it's the 500 million billion dollar opportunities that the VCs are interested in. But my message to you is that do not get caught in this tyranny of the TAM. If you can manage to bootstrap to a place where you can grow organically, these 10 million, 20 million, 30 million opportunities are great because they are kind of not in the sweet spot of the deals which VCs invest in. They're also not in the sweet spot of the kinds of businesses that large companies invest in. So you can create for yourself a nice niche business that maybe you own 100% or you own with a couple of other partners. And if you generate $10 million, $20 million a year from a business that you own, 100% or you own with two other partners, you have a lot of leverage, a lot of leverage. So do not ignore the niche, smaller opportunities. These smaller niche opportunities are not VC land, they're not exit land, but they are great cash cows. They're great cash businesses. And there's another thing to remember, and this may be something that Asia is in a better position to take advantage of, something that America has not been able to work into its financing model, I suppose. America is obsessed with exits. But for these niche business opportunities, the better model is the dividend model. If you do have investors, these are investors who could be investing with the idea that they will be, collecting dividends. Once you become sufficiently profitable, a percentage of the profit are going to be taken out through dividends, given out through dividends to shareholders. This is something that in early stage investment, at this point, Silicon Valley is completely ignoring, and by and large, the startup ecosystem of America